Restoring men and history. They say a picture can be worth 1,000 words. Norman Rockwell did paintings that resonated with Americans. And the freedom of speech painting is one of those where a picture is worth 1,000 words, a painting. I think it says something about Americans and America at the time. It's that famous painting, you've seen it, the man in the jacket looking forward in a room, a town hall, in the community, and some are looking up at him sitting. Some are better dressed than him. He seems like he's a blue-collar guy with white-collar guys around him, but he's there, and there's something coming out of his pocket. He's got this jacket on and a flannel shirt, and you've seen, seems like a hard-working guy, blue-collar. He's got this thing coming out of his pocket. Maybe it was a speech. Maybe it was thoughts he wrote down. But what you capture from it, I mean, what you get from it, what it captures is, and what I take from it is, everything's okay. The republic is working. Freedom is working. Town is working. The community's working. And you get it in one picture. Community. You know their family's there. You know there's some friends that are there. It seems no one's trying to stop him from speaking. They're listening to him. They're giving him that respect. There's civility. There seems to be no yelling or no disorder. And the republic is working. America is shining. Peacefully assembled. Peacefully stating their opinions. Expressing themselves and also not being shut down from people who think they know better than him in the city council or the school board or somewhere else, who believe they are superior to this blue-collar working man. It doesn't seem like he's being shut down, which can seem to happen today. Seems like he's being respected from the leaders too, and the leadership, right? He's there to exercise his right to speak on something important for the community and important to him. He's involved. He looks like a very concerned citizen. He has a voice and he's using it. Now, Tocqueville in Democracy in America talks about the importance of community association and townships, that's where Americans learned self-government, responsibility, that towns could take care of themselves, cities, states. And we learned that as Americans, right? Self-reliance, American industry, frugality, these virtues and honors came from these small towns. The men like him. He's probably a very hard-working man who worked all day and then came to this meeting to stand for what he thinks is right, to help others. You see, at that time, too, the states and the local government still had a lot of power. And especially when Democracy in America was written, when Tocqueville walked across the country, federalism was at work. People learned self-reliance, that a town could take care of itself without requesting help from the federal government. They didn't need it. They didn't want it. They wanted to take care of it themselves. Association. So there's this man exercising freedom of speech, and there's freedom of assembly. They're peacefully assembled. The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights protects you from the federal government so that you can disagree with the federal government about policies, about narratives, about messages, and not be punished by the federal government. It's not just about what you can say, it's about they can't punish you for what you're saying about them or about their policies. You're allowed to criticize their policies and criticize them personally. And it protects you. That Bill of Rights, so important to us and our freedom, individual freedoms, that protects you from the federal government. Let's read it. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or protecting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So let's be clear. Congress shall make no law. So since Congress makes the law, the entire federal government cannot abridge the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of people peaceably to assemble. No agency. The entire federal government. If Congress can't write the law, of course, the executive branch, which can't write law, can't do it. And of course, the Supreme Court, which can't write law, can't do it, right? Because all of them have to follow the Constitution. Now, it doesn't just protect you, it also protects companies from being directed from the federal government and punishing those companies. Those companies are allowed to speak out, publish what they wish, the press, social media companies. They're allowed to post what they wish, even if it goes against the narrative of the government, of the federal government, the agencies of the federal government, or any part. So the federal government cannot abridge the right of that company to post or direct them on what to censor to help themselves for their political agenda. In other words, the federal government just can't say, well, don't do that because, hey, that might hurt our chances for an election, or that don't publish that story. Let's don't talk about that. In fact, shadow ban it and keep it down. Right. They can't do that. That's abridging. So anyway, back to the painting. When I look at it, I see a concerned, involved citizen who cares about what's going on in his community, the people around him, and the country. He seems to love his country. He shows up. He invests his time, probably after a hard day of work. You see, it's more than voting. It's showing up. It's standing. We have to speak up and stand. You have to get involved at the local level. And there are many ways to do it. Maybe you don't want to go to a town hall meeting. Maybe you just want to have people over to your house and talk about an issue in private to them and move them and show them the great points of your issue and why it's important. Or talk about the Constitution, why it protects your liberty, why we have a Constitution to people. At a restaurant, at a cigar bar, at a coffee shop, you can do it anywhere. You can go write a letter to a legislature. You can visit your mayor's office peacefully, always peacefully. It can just be talking to people in your community, be a part of the community, talking about an issue or talking about freedom of speech, this particular and important issue. Imagine if you could talk to one person a week, 52 weeks, about freedom of speech and how important it is and how it protects you from tyranny. Community matters, ideals matter. Talking to one person can have an impact. Do what you can, pick something. So going back to the painting, the spirit of Americans honoring freedom of speech and liberty comes through. The painting was done in 1943. What was happening in 1943? America was fighting the Nazis, right? And it shows a man speaking his mind and standing up for something. And that's what we have to do if we want to have freedom. We have to be active, involved, and stand for something. In particular, in this message, stand for freedom of speech. Because without freedom of speech, we cannot have liberty. They go together. Without it, you have tyranny, not liberty. And the more we're involved in our community, the better. That's what makes America work, federalism, community. Change won't come from Washington. It won't come from one guy, by the way, one man, one person. It has to come from you. It has to start at the local communities and the sheriff's offices and the city councils and the school boards and all those local places. And in your community, in your neighborhood, in your family, by the way. Starts in your family, right? The smallest political institution. So stand, get out, and get involved in something. Stand for freedom of speech. Norman Rockwell had volunteered during World War I, and he wanted to do something for the war effort, so he did this painting. And he created a painting that resonated and captured millions of Americans. And it showed the spirit of liberty within the American hearts and souls because it did resonate with them. He used his talents for America, purpose larger than himself. And you can do that too. Forging better, stronger men for better lives. Thank you.